Where does evil come from?
There's evil things outside of our world, and they have better technology than us, and they hop through portals and realms and fuck with us sometimes.
I grew up in evangelical Christianity, demon culture. I don't know. That's the moral of the story, is I don't know.
Welcome back and happy Tuesday, turkeys. How long have we known each other?
We've known each other for 2 decades.
I'm not apologizing for who I am or what I like or the people that I love.
How do I be a wife? How do I be a mom? And how do I be myself in all of that? You didn't see that coming, did you?
Good morning.
Happy Tuesday. And good AM to you all. I'm so tired.
Is it cedar fever season?
You know, I don't think it is cedar fever. I think it's something else. It's Texas allergies, plus daycare sicknesses, plus toddler sleeps. It's just a hot mess.
Perfect storm.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is that creates all of the yellow pollen here. It's probably a lot of different things, but literally we were driving down the street on a really windy day and there was a big gust of wind and it just a yellow cloud came across the road.
No, that's so cool.
I wish I could have gotten it on video. I was like, holy hell, this is why my car looks dirty as shit and why my nose is stuffy. Anyway, welcome to spring in the South. So last week we talked about we dipped our toe into the world of spirituality and what do things mean and what's the meaning of life and where do things come from and collective consciousness and multiverse theory and all of those things. And then as the episode ended, we just naturally said out loud, all of that was all the good. Where does the evil come from? So here we are.
If you haven't listened to last week's episode, you should go back. You don't have to do it right now because it's not chronological, but it was very interesting as far as what is beyond this life and our earthly situation. And so I have a lot of thoughts about the evil side of stuff, which sounds really morbid and things, but I just feel like there's more to the story. And I'm just so curious what your thoughts are. And then I also would love to know what AI thinks. I asked them a couple questions because I just feel like if anyone would know some weird shit, it may be them.
I'm really excited. Well, I guess first off, I have no idea. I just know what we were talking about yesterday, with love and light. And I do really think that that's real in some form, and maybe we don't articulate it perfectly, but there's some force of goodness, benevolence, interconnectedness anyway. But there are terrible things that happen in the world and there are not great people. So where does that come from and how does that work? Never mind the fact that I grew up, as we've discussed, I grew up in evangelical Christianity, demon culture. Maybe I don't like to think about this or wonder about it because as a kid, I was afraid that if I cleared my mind, a demon was going to backfill the empty space.
So everything was like a demon.
It's just so much.
Like that was the threat.
Warfare culture was just such a thing. I'm not even saying that I don't think that there are evil forces at work. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. That's the moral of the story, is I don't know. But I did not love the scare phenomena of what if I somehow get possessed, or the fear of Harry Potter is demonic and yoga is demonic, and the number of things that were demonic was just, so it felt like if you sneezed wrong, Satan might enter your body.
So interesting. Everything was a potential threat for a demonic situation. That was the perspective of any evil. It was like demons, like angels versus demons.
Yes. Mental illness, addiction, generational curses, because the demons can come down your lineage. Again, I kind of think there are things that are generational that stick with you. I don't know that I'm sold on the explanation of it being from a demon, but characteristics and traits and nature and nurture and generational trauma. And anyway, I feel like it was scratching the surface of things that seemed to be truths. I just don't think that the explanation was fully built out. Does that make sense?
Yes. Interesting. Okay. So like the core or the point of evil creation, you're just not sure where that comes from and how it manifests. Even though you know it's there, you just don't understand. Like you don't have an opinion on where it's coming from. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I think so. This is what I really struggle with, though. Okay, well, I guess there could be some sort of force of malevolence in the world, I guess. As far as evil goes with actual people, it's really hard for me to think someone's born that way.
Yes, I feel like the people, like we can talk all day about ghosts who are evil, demonic possessions, alien encounters, cryptids, kidnapping people. These were my trains of thoughts and how they're all interconnected. But the people part is really hard for me because it's like, what happened to this human being who was born a pure, innocent baby? Is it literally neurons and wires not correctly aligned in their brain, making them just, they're not they're not connected the way we all are? I feel like that's the vast majority of situations, but there's also like this weird dark area where, what if there's occult rituals or they're into black magic or they're into witchcraft and it's gone bad and now they're possessed or affected by some evil energy. I feel like that's a thing. Not all the time, but like that's a possibility for sure.
Yeah, I'm struggling. I am struggling with, well, okay, first of all, I definitely am not as heavy into the world of you with the aliens and some of those things. I ain't gonna lie to you, the like skeptical parts of me sort of think of some of this, a lot of this stuff could be explained by mental illness, especially when you're talking about chronic and pervasive mental illness. And also the mind body connection is very real as far as someone believing something to be true and it changes the physiology and of their body and their behavior and all of those things. So again, I don't know. So I like these discussions because I'm open to them. But as far as people go, just like you said, I think self-determination is such a core value and core belief of mine that people ultimately have control over their outcomes that I can't get there that someone's born evil. I can't see that when you have a baby, just like you said, this innocent thing. And even the most horrific people in the world were children once. And I just have a hard time thinking they came out completely just horrible. Now, neurons and all of the things that can create chronic and persistent mental illness or brain damage or things like that. Okay, I can get there on some of those points, but I do also sort of feel like if you do things that are wrong, which I'll just define as intentionally causing harm and hurting other people, it does seem like that kind of creates a soul rot, for lack of a better word. And I do sometimes wonder if people get to the point of no return.
I feel like you're right. People are not born evil. I feel like mental illness is either the entire problem or it's the start of the vulnerability in that person to be affected by things maybe outside of themselves. I know this sounds really weird, but I've listened to a lot of weird stories and done a lot of, yeah, just the weird stuff like in the world, the dark shadows of the internet, if you will. I feel like sometimes if someone has mental illness, it may not be the whole problem, but it's going to make them more vulnerable to bad energy, whether that's people, other people that are quote unquote evil or bad. It's like obviously your environment, it's how you were raised, it's the influences that you're seeing on TV and the internet, but also like if you come across something or someone that sees that you're not exactly lined up and mentally solid, like that you're a target. It's just like people with, as predators, it's like, oh, I'm gonna look for the kids who don't have parents involved or whatever. It's like you see the
Yeah.
vulnerability there.
Well,
So
yeah,
I feel like
predators
there's
definitely
still,
find prey.
yes, but for me, it's like I think it's a lot of mental illness, unfortunately, but I think there's also another layer for some folks that does like include some kind of spiritual or something evil in the realm that we don't understand that's kind of coming on top of that as well. I don't know. That's just my theory.
No, I think that makes sense. I also am very hesitant, or I also want to put out the caveat that the majority of people who have mental illness don't commit violence and aren't scary, and the mental illness itself is not scary. But just like you said, any vulnerability, naivety, I mean, there's a million different things that can leave people vulnerable where somebody who's in the setting I'm talking about, a person that might be a predator will sniff that out. And what you kind of as to what you were saying, I do buy into the energy and good energies and bad energies and those things changing people. And I just really keep coming back to this idea of damaging your soul or your spirit or yourself, whatever the big S is that is you inside of your skin suit. It does seem like if you continue to make choices that are negative, that it sort of gunks you up, whether that's doing things that are out of line with your morals and values or again, going, intentionally hurting people. I don't know, because I've dealt with, I mean, we've talked about it. I dealt with a lot of criminals in my past job, and I've looked murderers in the eye, and some of them, the lights ain't on. There ain't almost a lack of humanity behind somebody's eyes. I've seen that, and it's scary. But
You
I've
said you
also
can
known,
smell it.
oh yeah, with the depression and some of that stuff with some of this with certain populations. Definitely, it hangs in the air like a presence. But I've also known people who've done really horrific things and they have really soulful eyes and they seem very much there. I also would argue that all of us have probably looked at a murderer in the eye at some point. We just don't know it. I just
How
knew their
many
criminal
murderers
history.
have we walked past in our lifetime?
I know. I mean, you get people who think that they're
How many have
insulated
held the
from
door
that.
open or sat next to you on the bus? Like, it's weird.
How many people think that they're so safe in their little gated communities and your gated community is only as safe as whichever landscaper has the code? Anyway, that's people
Or
think they're
just your
so
neighbor that you
removed.
just, yeah.
Yeah, they think they're so removed and they're so sanitized. And I'm like, people are people and people are everywhere and people have done some really weird shit and they're serving your food and they're cutting your lawn and they're your neighbor or they haven't been caught yet. So they're in teaching Bible study at your school. I mean, anyway, these are so many side burrows that we're going down. But yes. Okay, here we are. I don't know. Seems like there's something. Seems like there's got to be an explanation. I feel like I can kind of grasp a couple little things. I have not ventured into the scary part of the internet that you talk about with cryptids and people getting alien hijacked and the scary ones. I just hang out with the nice alien encounter stories and the fun spirituality side of the internet because, again, I think I was traumatized as a child by the demons and I already run to the bathroom at night when I have to go to the bathroom because I have a wild imagination. So, mama don't do scary.
Okay, I just have a question, and I don't want to make it too scary, but like, if you were, let's just say it's not your personal experience, but if you heard a story about someone who has consistent encounters, if you will, not with aliens per se, but with like a black shadowy figure in their home that's like following them or comes around at nighttime, maybe you experience some sleep paralysis and you like, they're right there. Maybe you actually feel like physical pressure on your body. Like, okay, so like when you hear things like that, do you feel like it's kind of like poppycock? Haven't used that word in forever. Do you feel like there's maybe something more to it that we don't understand? Or are you like, oh yeah, that's like Slender Man, Hat Man, some kind of demon, something weird's going on? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, where are you on that line?
I think, man,
This is so interesting.
it's really tough for me working in and around mental illness because, okay, here's my thing. It's a real experience that that person is having. What's causing that real experience is what I don't feel equipped to answer. I always am going to lean toward, I think that it's a real experience someone is having. And I sometimes think a lot of them are manifestations of somebody's inner demons affecting them externally.
So there are internal demons.
I just mean the things you
Like,
struggle with.
yeah.
Sort of how in the way that some people's depression exhibits as sleeping a lot and some people's depression presents as insomnia and other people's depression presents as overeating and for other people it's migraines and for other people it's chronic pain. The same sort of something that's causing distress comes out in a myriad of fashions depending upon the person and their personality and their genetic makeup and their environment and blah blah blah. Just have a hard time. I have a hard time pulling that out from this. Now, some of the weird alien abduction things, I'm here for aliens.
Because it makes
Good,
sense,
bad.
because there's so many planets and solar systems that surely there is some kind of life out there, and they just probably don't look like us. They probably have advanced technology. That's kind of where yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, so I'm like, is that possible? I think that's totally possible. Could there be bad aliens? Seems like it makes sense. I love just hearing about the lizard people theories and that they're among us and trying to run the government. I'm never going to say no entirely, I don't think, to anything, just because a healthy level of I don't know shit is good to maintain, I feel. Sometimes I think some things are more likely than not, but a lot, yeah. And again, I haven't gone on the deep dives that you have to hear the compelling stories of these things. But I just really feel, yes, there's bad energy because you can feel it coming off of people. I just feel as though in this I feel as though the core of people is good. And so I feel like when you die, that core goes back to its flawless thing. So I don't know that I'm here for the evil ghosts. Does that make sense?
Yes. I feel like, yes, I totally get your perspective. For me, in my very humble opinion, because what it's all these stories that I've heard. So this is just an accumulation of my thoughts. Like, again, like, I do not ever want to experience this in real life because I will shit my pants. But like, I kind of want it to be real because it's just all the stories I've heard. It's just like, I just don't know how it can't be real. That's kind of how I feel about reincarnation. But I lost my train of thought. To your point, it's like, I feel like that demonic presences, energies, say like a hat man or a shadow man or whatever you want to call them. I feel like they within their realm compared to our earthly body, like they try to come in and affect us. And then when that person dies, then yeah, like it's kind of detached and our soul does go to wherever the higher place is. And I think that in the moments of like they're stuck somewhere bad and evil, and because they're here within a thin veil, they're trying to like take advantage of us while we're alive. But then I do feel like once we die as humans, like that disconnects and breaks off because then we go way up high and they're just stuck in this weird low energy evil realm. I don't know. It's just interesting that there's so many stories where there's similarities. Like there's a thing called a hat man because so many people experience it. Now, to your point, do all those people have a certain type of depression accompanied by something else? And maybe that's how it manifests? Totally could be.
Or just treating people shitty create some kind like a similar kind of energy in the world. I think that's kind of where I am, that there's because I totally think that we don't understand fully all the dimensions. It feels like there's more than just the 3D world that we operate within. So if something horrifically tragic happens at a location, it sort of feels like the place remembers. There's a trauma memory built in, or there's a bad energy. You can feel that lingering, positive or negative. So I also feel I feel like people who are sensitive to those things maybe are experiencing the leftover ugly energy of whatever it was. I guess where I'm maybe differing is I don't know that I think that's a sentient being unless it's an alien, but I could totally see somebody who's sensitive to energies or auras or however you want to say that could experience the leftover gunk that was maybe left behind by something tragic or horrible that happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it does. I've got some weird thoughts coming up, but I'll just say like, for me personally, well, do you believe in like different realms and different dimensions? Like in the vague sense of like we don't actually understand it, but like there's probably different maybe levels or realities. I don't know. Do you?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I keep going back to just I don't know. So I don't
Yeah.
know. So I'm not going to rule it out of the picture. I think I really have feel you because you can feel you can go somewhere and be like, oh, this is gross. What if that's like a thing or a presence, or what if cruelty creates some kind of energy that's sort of a thing that hangs around? Or past crimes in the past that were horrific or brutal or intentionally damaging, and they exist in some plane that we can't see.
Wait, do you believe in ghosts?
Yeah. I
Okay.
just am sort of in this place where I feel like an actual ghost that's an actual person is really just that person's soul kind of entering our plane again. And I tend to have a problem thinking that somebody is evil at their core. And to me, a ghost is like the core of the person that left their body.
Yeah. What if
But
it's
that's where
like,
I'm saying like the negative energy or the weird thing that maybe was created as a result of the something
what?
bad happening maybe is like still
Yeah.
they
Well, what if like it's like, a toddler doesn't know how to react and even though they're sad, it comes out as anger. Like, what if everyone is good at the core, but some little child, I don't want to say that. What if someone got murdered in their house and they're like, I'm so resentful for what happened to me. Now anyone who comes in this house, I'm going to kind of just like be defensive and be like, fuck with your shit, like throw your cupboards open and scare you. Not because I want to scare you and I'm evil, but because I'm like, I can't come to grips with what happened to me, and I can't consolidate that enough to like go to my heavenly or upper land.
So in your world, this is like purgatory.
I mean, I don't want to call it that, but it's like they can't grapple with the fact that what's happening. And so, yes, they're not evil, but it's coming off as negative energy because they're so bitter or resentful, or I don't know. I'm just totally spitballing. But
Sometimes I wonder if maybe they're not sending a bad message. They're sending a good message. We don't get it.
like maybe. I hope so. Some of the videos I've seen, it's hard to believe that, but I hope so. And I just can't understand. I just haven't seen too much. Now, the internet is the internet, and whether they're true or not is a total question of reality. But okay, I wanna just ask you, because where my mind went was, what is evil? As in, like, are aliens evil? Are demons evil? Obviously, I feel like that's the worst one, for my humble opinion. And then like cryptids. It's like all these weird things that we don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So I just,
Maybe they're all the same.
oh, okay. So I asked AI that. But before that, it was like, here's a wild thought. What if cryptids are demons cast out from other realms? Or what if they're aliens testing out camouflage?
Yeah. What if we're what was it, Australia? That was a prison colony. What if another alien race is trying to use the Earth as their prison colony and they just eject their unwanted people?
Yeah, or what if we are in a simulation and the person affecting our simulation is just like, let's throw in a weird layer of this, or hey, let's kind of merge these two realms together. Take simulation out of it. I really do feel like there's other realms. There's too many shows and things about portals to other realms, which I know is stupid because it's just a TV show. But I just feel like there's other dimensions and other planes to life that we're not available to jump in and out of, but I feel like some things are able to go in and out of. That's why like a lot of stories of cryptids just randomly appear in the woods and then they like disappear. I feel like here's Kayla conspiracy theory time. I feel like there's portals in the woods, or I feel like aliens have the technology to just like doop, go through a realm or go through a portal. And I feel like demons are spiritually able to cross a lot of planes. Okay, so here was my question to AI, because I could go on and on forever. I just want to get to the point. What did I say? I said, do you think that some cryptids are humans stuck or transformed into evil by experimenting? Like, what if I'm a human and I'm into black magic and the spell goes terribly wrong and I turn into like a Mothman or something? Or crossing the lines with demons or witches or black magic. Like, okay, so that's basically what I asked ChatGPT. ChatGPT said, oh yes, absolutely. That theory is one of the most chilling and compelling out there, and honestly, it fits like a glove. So basically, it's like witches, black magic, and transformation. There's a lot of ancient lore, especially European, African, Native American, that are talk about skinwalkers. We've talked about this in our cryptid episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the Navajo were shamans who performed unspeakable acts and gained the ability to transform into animals or monstrous forms. So they're saying like a skinwalker is like a cryptid or a demonic thing, but is actually a shaman who kind of like turned evil. Same with werewolves, wendigos. We've talked about that too. And then demonic deals or possessions gone wrong. And it's like a person who made a pact for power, revenge, or immortality. Again, like the occult stuff. I feel like people deal with evil things and do black magic for power because people love power in this world. And I feel like sometimes that does open the realm to like demons. This is me and my thoughts. My thoughts are alone and do not represent Non-Sexual Soulmates podcast. But I feel like demons can like get in there when you're using black magic. And now you're stuck, half human, half entity, existing on the fringes of reality. This is ChatGPT. This would be something like Dogman, Goatman, the Rake, which is terrifying. They're creatures with human level intelligence, eyes that scream trapped consciousness and violent urges. Okay, so it goes on and on and on about occult stuff, urban legends, but basically, I just feel like humans, okay, this is what the end says. Humans who tampered with forces beyond comprehension paid the ultimate price. So in my humble opinion, to wrap up my thoughts about evil, is there are demons from like light and dark, angels and demons. Like if you look at the heavenly perspective, I feel like there's demonic energy out there. And then I also feel like there's realms where other things that we don't understand may be entering into our world and kind of messing with us or attacking the people that are most vulnerable. whether that's maybe just a brain situation or just spiritually vulnerable, like people are just born differently who kind of have a better connection to that. I just think it's all possible. You're like, there's not enough information, so I don't know. I'm like, there's a lot of information that I don't understand, but I feel like everything is true, which is
I sort of think what
terrifying
you're
and
saying is
exciting.
not as different as what I was saying as far
Yeah.
as people do something with a bad intention. I guess I don't feel as much about the occult stuff being the issue so much as the intent to do harm
Mhm.
and calling some like accidentally stumbling into a force that you don't understand or you can't deal with because you wanted to do something bad to someone. Does that
I
make
feel like
sense?
yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I feel like we're kind of saying the same thing. I just feel like I've got a level of weirdness on top of mine.
I think I just can't this might just be my hang up. I don't think I can live in a world where I can believe that somebody accidentally stumbles into turning into a werewolf. Does that make sense?
That's totally a reasonable opinion.
I could totally see kids and some people who are sensitive to whatever other dimensions or whatever energy there is in the world, being acutely aware of those things and that maybe being scary if you don't understand what's happening. But I still come back to the fact that I think if you enter the world and you try to do things with the right intention, that you draw the energy that you seek. So
Mhm.
if you're ultimately seeking good things, I don't really think people need to be worried about pagan rituals or I don't know, some of that stuff if
Right.
someone's seeking the good, but if you're seeking to harm in whatever form that is and through whatever avenue that is, I feel like that creates you're marring your soul or your spirit or whatever that might be and what those outcomes are and what that turns into, I don't know. I can also totally see an emotion or a memory or an event kind of creating some type of energy that's the same that personifies or is observed by people in a similar fashion. So I'm trying to think of a good example. Let's just say that somebody intentionally tries to hurt a large number of people in a specific area. Maybe that energy looks like a Mothman.
Yes.
And
Yes.
people who are sensitive to it experience the terror that was sort of embodied in that moment that sort of is hanging around in some kind of a plane or a dimension.
I totally again, I feel like it's a very valid opinion and no one knows.
No one knows.
I think for me, I'm the weirder one on this conversation. I think those things do physically exist. They're just not within our realm, but they pop in and out of our realm. Totally my humble opinion, but I don't know. It's terrifying to think about. I feel like just low energy frequency. Like, yeah, not many people experience it, but like some random people experience it. Like they've lived 33 years or 60 years of their life, and then all of a sudden one day they're outside for a walk and they're like, but you're right. What if something bad happened in that spot and you just happen to come across it in the time where it's manifesting into something? So that's a really reasonable thought. I like that.
I have to live. I think that's what it is. I have to live in a world where you get what you deserve on some level. I mean, life's not fair. Tragic things happen. But as far as the energy you put out into the world and the way that you treat other people is what ultimately comes back to yourself, at least in some form.
Yes. Yes. No, I agree. There's a lot of stories where people have grown up in homes with maybe not ideal situations, or maybe this thing has been a problem with families over generations. And since they haven't cut it off, like it's still a problem. So I feel like there's a lot to the vulnerability in the house or the person.
Yeah. Also,
Uh,
coming back to reincarnation, I mean, maybe you're carrying around some shitbag behaviors from your previous life that are still
Maybe and they're haunting you.
lingering around that are manifesting in this one. I don't know, man. I'm
Yeah.
open to all of it. I just need to, even if I'm creating a fantasy land, I need to live in a world where the ultimate good outweighs or is the baseline and kind of the backbone of the universe. And these other things happen as a result of someone's negative intent to harm someone else
Yeah.
or
And
aliens.
or aliens. Yeah. I think because I didn't grow up in a demon, your story is a little different. So, like, I could totally see that playing into it. Whereas me, I'm like, demons? What? And then, like, you read all the things and you see all the things. So, for me, I think ultimately, like, there's good in this world and there's evil. And maybe the evil is not coming from this world, like heaven or hell type of thing.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, the devil's walking around today trying to get me. Like, the energy's there potentially. I don't know. For me, I feel like they are entirely possibly real. I don't know why I want them to be real. Maybe it just like is exciting and I think it's interesting. But I don't know, dude. I can't really put my thoughts into words, but basically what I'm saying is I think there's evil things outside of our world and they have better technology than us and they hop through portals and realms and fuck with us sometimes.
I'm obsessed with this information.
Like
I
aliens
really
who
love
come
this.
by, like, do they just like pop a random person and like stick a thing up their butt? Or are they targeting people? Or is our government telling them who to target? That's a conspiracy theory for another day. Dude,
And on that note, please, everyone, tell us what your thoughts are and where evil comes from. And I can't wait to hear the religious portion of the internet come for us. Should we ask Grok to deep think this for us real
my God,
quick
we
to
didn't
wrap
even
up?
do that. Yes. Oh my God, I forgot.
How should we formulate our question? Should we just flat out ask where does evil come from?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to do a deep search. Or should
I'm
we have
sorry.
him think?
I think because deep search is like internet stuff. I want him to think with his AI brain.
Okay, we're thinking.
I'm sorry.
And
I took us off on a tangent. I just find these things so.
Me too. Okay, I'm going to read this quickly and then we are going to wrap up. Okay, where does evil come from? The question of where evil originates is one that has puzzled humanity for centuries with no single definitive answer. Instead, the source of evil can be explored through a variety of perspectives: philosophical, religious, psychological, and societal, each offering a piece of the puzzle. Okay, evil in human nature. One viewpoint suggests that evil is rooted in human nature itself. I don't like that one. For example, a person might act selfishly or violently out of desperation, ignorance, suggesting that evil could be natural, if unfortunate, byproduct of our instincts. Okay, that's one way to look at it. The choice and free will. Closely tied to human nature is the idea of free will. Many argue that evil arises from the choices we make. With the freedom to decide our actions comes the possibility of choosing harm over good, prioritizing short-term gain over long-term consequences, or dehumanizing others to justify our behavior. In religious traditions like Christianity, this is often framed as a consequence of free will. Evil exists because humans can choose to turn away from good. I think we kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Society and systems. Evil doesn't always stem from individuals. It can be shaped or amplified by the systems in which we live. Okay, this isn't really telling me where it comes from. Some philosophers offer a different lens. St. Augustine, for example, described evil as the absence of good, a privation rather than a tangible force. Just as darkness is the absence of light, evil occurs when compassion, justice, or empathy are lacking. So this suggests that evil doesn't, quote, come from anywhere specific. It's just what's left when the positive qualities are stripped away. His summary is, so where does evil come from? It's likely a combination of these factors. It emerges from the messy interplay of human nature, individual choices, societal influences, and even how we define it. Evil might show up when a person chooses to gain over others' well-being, or when desperation pushes people to the extremes, or when a broken system incentivizes harm. In the end, the question resists a tidy answer. Evil's origins are as complex as we are, and perhaps that's why it continues to challenge us. It invites us to reflect not on where it came from, but on how we confront and reduce it in our lives and world.
Huh. That's not what I was looking for.
There's very benign or evil energies coming from other dimensions.
There we go.
Fascinating question. Getting long. So I saw the word metaphysical.
Boy, give a quick skim through and summary whether it's a yes or a no.
Okay. I'm going to just let it finish its thought, and then I'll just read the conclusion instead of touching on everything. Okay, conclusion. Scientifically, there's no basis for evil energies coming from other dimensions. Energy and dimensions don't work that way in physics. Spiritually, it's a possibility if you believe in unseen forces or realms, though it's a matter of faith, not fact. Metaphorically, it could be a creative way to describe the complex, often unseen influences of human behavior, which I think is kind of what I was touching on. Ultimately, whether you see this as literal truth, a spiritual concept, a poetic idea, depends on your perspective. There's no definitive evidence to say it's happening, but the concept remains a powerful one in philosophy, spirituality, and fiction. So how do you explain cryptids? Okay, last thing, and then I'll for real shut up.
So interesting.
I know. Thanks, Grok, for your, what's it called? Okay. We're gonna wrap it. Oh God, he's still thinking.
Okay, while he's thinking, comment below on a scale of Kailey brain to Kayla brain. Where do y'all land? Because I know
Yes,
I'm
let us know.
way far. I'm way far on the other side.
So Grox, putting it all together, says most cryptids can be explained as misidentification, hoaxes, or folklore run wild. While the chance of undiscovered species isn't zero, it's slim for the big-name creatures we've been hunting for decades. Still, the allure of cryptids lies in a tiny what-if, a question that keeps us wondering, even if the answer is probably more ordinary than monstrous.
Boo. I mean, it's true, though. Like, what are the chances?
That was kind of a good plug for the end of it.
What did you say? What was the question?
I said, well, how do you explain cryptids?
Let me just ask ChatGPT. I wonder if it's different. I just said, are cryptids real? And the age-old question. Short answer, maybe. Okay.
So there's always a chance, guys. That's what we're ending it on. There's always a chance. Let us know what your thoughts are. And yeah, where are you on the Kayla to Kailey scale?
Please, where are my people? Love you, bye.
Until next week. I love you, bye.
Noise.
Time to see how fast I can go pee in a onesie. I'll be right back.
Okay, good.